The Damiano is an opening where black basically makes a really big mistake at the beginning of the game. But knowing what to do against it is really important, because if you're playing in a blitz tournament or you're playing against an opponent that is lower rated than you and you don't capitalize on this big mistake, then you're missing out on a really easy win. It's a position that you really should know about for no other reason that you can easily convert this game. And if you didn't know what to do exactly, you may not make the right move, and you may let your opponent off the hook and get a good game against you and maybe even win the game when they should lose almost immediately. So let's just show you initially what the Damiano opening is. We play e4, they play e4. So far so good, everything's normal. We get our knight out, which is also normal. And then if black plays this move here, which is a very bad move, pawn to f6, then the game is essentially lost right here. At the very least, black is going to have a really, really difficult position to play if they don't make any further blunders after this. Now, for a lot of really strong chess players or even intermediate chess players, we're rarely going to make this as our second move. Usually we'll move this pawn forward or get the knight out or develop in some other rational way. We can even move this knight out and go into the Petrov defense. But by playing this pawn move here, it opens the black side up to a lot of tactics and a lot of really juicy stuff that we can do from white. So I actually recently played in a tournament, and I played against a much lower rated opponent, and they played this move, which from my point of view at this point is almost inexplicable, and I just crushed them within just a few moves. It was quite fun. But if you don't know that you can sacrifice your knight here on e5, which is what I'm going to show you, you may just think, okay, well, they're developing, it's kind of weird, but whatever, I'll just get my bishop out and try to exploit that weakness, right? This is a weakness no matter what, because we shouldn't immediately move the pawn right in front of our king out like this. It makes it so if we castle kingside, our king is exposed, and it just doesn't make sense when we have so many other better moves, just developing our knight, developing our pieces and things like that. But the reason it's a major blunder is because of this move. We can just take this pawn and sacrifice our knight. If they choose to take, which most people will, if they're bad enough to play this move, and then they take a knight, then what we have is a series of variations where no matter what happens, we're going to win the game very, very easily. Black cannot take that knight. I will go through in this course what happens in every single variation, whether or not they take the knight or not, and how to play in every single scenario when they take the knight, when they don't take the knight, and if they choose to do different things. We're going to look at all of them in this course. And if you're lucky enough to get your opponent to play that move f6, well, you're in for a treat, because you can just immediately crush them, especially if they take the knight. So the reason that we can sacrifice the knight is because we have this move, queen to h5 check. And no matter what they do here, they're in heaps of trouble. So let's say, for example, they do what seems like the most logical thing, and they move their pawn forward here, and they block it and attack our queen. Well, of course, we can now, as I'm sure you can see immediately, we can take this pawn with check, and we're going to win their rook right here. And we're going to be up a whole, an exchange plus a pawn, actually exchange plus two pawns, and a much, much better position, because in the process of gaining this material, we've basically destroyed their king position. I mean, their king is going to be in a really bad position for the rest of the game. We're going to be up a lot of material, and you can simply trade the queens off and go into a winning endgame and win the game. But let's look and see what happens. So let's say they just want to trade off queens right away. Fine, we'll take the rook anyway. They will have this move where they take our pawn with check, but we just want a rook. And so we don't freak out about that. We just move our king over, right? That's what we have to do, because if we block it with our bishop, then the queen will come down here and take this pawn, which will no longer be defended, and they will have counterplay against us. So it's a key move that if they play their queen out here after we take the rook and they take our pawn with check, we just move our king over here. Now everything is defended from our side. Their knight is now not defended, and so they can do a couple different things. In this session, we'll look at how if they just move the knight out, what might transpire. So in this case, we can take this pawn here. Either way, we're going to win more material, and their king is in an awkward spot. Our queen is in an attacking position, and we're up quite a lot of material right away. They may do something silly like just make a check and also defend this pawn again. Then we just block it, and they will retreat their queen back. So what we have here is a situation where out of just the first few moves of the game, we have already won the exchange, right? Because we sacrificed our knight, but we gained a rook, so we used to call that winning the exchange. And we are also up by a pawn, and we have a better position. We've got a more aggressively located queen, and we should be able to easily convert this game. Both sides may try to develop their pieces as fast as they can, but we're going to have a really big advantage here. And the awkwardness of black's pieces also makes it so we will have a lot of opportunities to win. So for example, if they're not careful and they let us get this bishop out with tempo, like in this case, and then we can give a check and win a bishop, and now we're up even more, and their position just crumbles very, very rapidly. So that's one way that this game will play out. The Damiano is just this enormous blunder for black, and we have to know enough about openings, and that's why we're taking this course, to know that we can initially, without even hesitation or any forethought, just take this pawn with our knight and sack it. So we just looked at one outcome, how we win a lot of material and get a winning position, and in the next lesson, we're going to look at black plays slightly differently, how we can get an early checkmate on the king, and then we will continue from there and go one by one through each variation and see how white wins in every case.